top story is what, Ellie?
Well, Britain's small boat crisis has reached a new shocking milestone as over 50,000 migrants have crossed the Channel since Sir Keir Starmer came into power.
Now, the figure was reached after 430 made the journey from France yesterday.
Well, the Prime Minister says he's confident that his government will reduce small boat numbers. But this comes less than a week after the deal to send migrants back to France became operational. So will it actually reduce numbers like Labour say it will?
Well, we're joined by our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, well, let's put all this in context. These are big numbers.
Yeah, they are. It's when you reach milestones like this that it really brings the small boats crisis into focus. And there's no doubt this is a shocking number. 50,000, all the more shocking when you consider that Labour has only been in power for 13 months. So to reach that number now is just incredible. And you're looking there at the Dover lifeboat that came in just the day before last with a significant number of migrants on board in choppy conditions. The people smugglers are pushing these boats out despite heavy swells now in the Channel. They just don't give two hoots for the safety of those paying customers that they're sending into the Channel. And this morning we can report after the 50,000 that have crossed under Labour, it just keeps on coming. Another 180 migrants in 3 small boats in the Channel heading towards us. Our producer tells us it's 15 knots in the Channel, which is enough to churn it up into fairly heavy swells again. But the winds are blowing to the back of the migrants. So in a sense, they're helping push these migrant boats towards the UK. And the people smugglers have become expert, at reading tide and weather conditions, and will push the boats out, not when it's completely impassable, but even if it's on the line, if you think that there's no chance that these boats could be coming across on a certain day, they've got the advice, they take them out. Sometimes, of course, it doesn't work, and these very heavily overloaded, flimsy, inflatable rafts can get into trouble. We've already had up to 75 people who've died so far this year, Eamon.
Well, figures are what it's all about, and the figures that you've got 50,000 since Labour came into power. But what about the people smugglers themselves? We seldom hear anything about them. Now, we know they're despised by everybody, by their customers, by the authorities, whatever. But is anybody doing anything about them? Do we hear any figures that how many of them are put away?
Well, interestingly, the government said just the other day that about 370 people smuggling operations had been disrupted. Now, what does it mean, disrupted? It might mean that, one of the so-called burner boys, so that's effectively migrants in the camps that do the running on behalf of the people smugglers, had been arrested or a boat intercepted. So, you got to take the 370 odd people smuggling operations disrupted with a pinch of salt, because the fact is the people smugglers themselves are nowhere near the camps. They are in the UK. They're in various European countries. They're in the likes of Iraqi Kurdistan, in areas like that. This is an international trade in people smuggling that makes billions in profit. So actually trying to make any meaningful impact on the Mr. Bigs that are effectively fairly faceless individuals is often extremely difficult.
And it's going to be reached, the 50,000 migrants crossing the Channel since Labour came to power. I mean, the timing is significant in the sense that it's only a week since that one-in, one-out returns deal with France became operational. Do you think it is going to reduce numbers like Labour says it will?
I really can't see how it can, and in its present form. I think, honestly, to make a proper impact on the business model for the people smugglers, it needs to be close to 100% of those coming across the channel would be returned. And then in a short period of time, 2 or 3 weeks, clearly the business model's not working, and it would cease. Nobody's going to pay thousands of pounds to get across the channel if effectively they're going to be sent back to France again. But at the moment, you're talking only a few percent of those coming across the channel that are being sent back, if you're looking at about 50 a week, as we believe the numbers in the sort of interim period are of this pilot. So if that's the case, it's not really a disincentive, because 95% is your chance of success of getting across and not being returned. In fact, the people smugglers are telling those potential customers that might have a concern or two about being sent back that, look, there's very little chance of this happening, and even if it does, we'll give you a free ticket back to the UK.
Okay, Mark, stay across that. We'll be back to you throughout the programme this morning with more analysis of those figures. For the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBnews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
With more politics, and who have we got?
We've got the Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, Matt Vickers, with us this morning. Morning to you, Mr Vickers.
Good morning, Eamon. Good morning, Ellie.
Good morning.
Can we start with this record-breaking number of small boat arrivals? 50,000 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since Labour won the election. What's your response to those figures?
Well, it's devastating, isn't it? It's devastating for the taxpayer who's picking up the tab. It's devastating for communities across the country, like in Epping, where we've seen some horrific incidents and what occurred there. That means that people don't go out in their own communities and feel safe. They don't send their children out and their wives and women around in public spaces. And it's devastating for local economies. I went to Altrincham a little while ago and saw what it meant for the local economy. When you have 300 hotel rooms in a town, in a small town, and that gets taken over by 300 lone men who hang around the town centre. Not only do you have that concern about those gangs of men in the town centre, but you also have the incident where those family businesses, those retailers, those hospitality businesses, the pubs, the restaurants, family businesses, people who've put years of hard work into creating businesses, into creating jobs and opportunities for young people, now lose out on all that trade. Those 300 people aren't turning up every week. They aren't buying things. They aren't spending in those shops and those restaurants. It's turning communities on their head. 50,000.
Goodness knows what effect it's going to have over what time period, Matt, but this is a really serious thing. I mean, I was talking about it particularly. It affects you, it affects me, it affects Ellie, it affects everybody in different ways. But the sociability of all of this isn't just about rescuing people and putting them in somewhere nice to stay or whatever, because we are doing away with the local way of life, the local sociability and all of this. So Kemi Badenoch seems to be suggesting we should put them in special camps, migrant camps. Could you elaborate on that, please?
She said, well, Kemi's been down there to Epping. She's been meeting the families who live there, the people who are scared to send their kids out in the public spaces. She's met the business people. She's seen what this means firsthand for those communities on this scale. 50,000 more. Because do you know what? The last government got this wrong in many ways, but they were doing something about it. They were looking at that deterrent. They were reducing the number in hotels. But the reality is it's gone up. It hasn't gone up a little bit. It's gone up by 51% with Starmer in office. That is huge. It's not. You can't integrate people on that scale. And the reality is that these aren't women and children. They're largely, very largely groups of lone men. So she said we should look at all the options on this. Firstly, at how we accommodate these people when we're here, looking at the potential of camps, asking the questions, seeing what the community thinks of that. Because you know what? You can't, I mean, these hotels do have a huge impact. They're right in the centre of town. They leave groups of lone men hanging around town centres. They have a huge economic impact. It's not acceptable. The reality is, though, the only way to solve this problem is for those people to know when they get on that boat that they've got no chance of staying. We need to remove these people. If you break into this country, you should be detained. You should be removed. We need to take away all the pull factors that make these people make the decision to get in those boats.
We're talking about the protests that you've seen outside the Bell Hotel in Epping. I mean, surely migrant camps are not the answer. You can only imagine the outroar in villages and towns if a migrant camp was to crop up in someone's field.
You can police things properly if they're not sat in town centres. These hotels were built for people who are going to come to town, families often actually, not groups of low men, families to come and visit towns, to see family members, to go and spend money in town centres. That's what these hotels were designed for. Often, I mean, we've seen incidents of people who were meant to be getting married in these places, and then had their weddings cancelled because all these migrants are turning up. That is not what these are designed for. You could design something in a sensible space that you can secure properly, where you can keep local populations safe, and you can look at where they're best suited. They're not suited where they are, and they're certainly not suited on the ridiculous scale that we're seeing. It's not acceptable. We need to start.
Know the half of it. I was talking to a guy this week, and he was telling me that his sister is a nurse, and she has to attend to give TB injections and all sorts of things, wearing masks, because a lot of these guys have TB, and they can't. They're not supposed to mix in the community and whatever, and yet they get their injection and they go right out the door. If it was a badger, they would lock it up or put it down or something else. It is just unbelievable. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. What was the next thing we're going to? Post offices. Matt, I don't know if you know anything about these post offices things, but my goodness me, what a job, what a tough job to do that under so much pressure, so many problems associated with that. And now we hear that there is talk about reducing the numbers of them greatly.
So we saw, the last Labour government hacked away at the number of post offices in this country. And we put in a cap when we were last in office to say 11,500, no lower. And there was also an aim that you'd have a post office within 3 miles of every major population. That's the right thing to do, because these post offices aren't just somewhere you buy a stamp. Very often they're at the centre of communities. They can be in villages that don't have any other shop. They're the place where elderly people, you know what, you get elderly people, we talk about isolation. Sometimes the postmaster and the postmistress are the only people some of these elderly people see. They've got a huge community function. They're a place that communities come together. We must protect them.
Just finally, some shocking statistics out this morning. I don't know if you've seen them. Attacks on A&E nurses have risen by 91% in 6 years. We've been reading into this morning. Incidents such as spitting and punching of nurses have been documented here. How do we protect nurses and also fellow patients in A&E departments?
It's devastating, actually, when you think these people put themselves on the front line to help people, to actually go out and help the general population and help the public. and then they end up being the victim of this stuff. It's entirely unacceptable. It's entirely abhorrent. It's that same small minority that make life hell for everybody else in all sorts of situations. What we did in the last government towards the end of our time was we toughened up the sentencing yet again for people who assault emergency service workers. So anybody who does it can be subject to a tougher sentence, and that's the right thing to do. They should be spending longer behind bars. But one of the problems that we've got at the minute, of course, is the reduction in the number of police officers. Under the last government, we reached record numbers of police on our streets. That's what we need to do. We need to continue in that ilk. But since Labour came to power, the number of police is gone down by 1,316 already. They slammed our police forces across the country with this national insurance increase and didn't give them the money to increase the number of police on our streets. It's only going to go one way. In the last year, we've seen that 20% increase in shop theft. We can't carry on like this. We need to be investing more money into our police forces. We need to be taxing police forces. I mean, it's absurd, taxing the police off our streets. And we need to see more police on our streets, and we need to see them properly resourced with the money and the kit that they need to do the job.
Shadow Home Office Minister, Matt, appreciate your time and what you've had to say today. We've got to leave it there. Thank you.